Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to NerdTube. And we're coming to you nice and early here in London town for the review of Andor season 2, episodes 4, 5, and 6. I'm here with Fat Door. How you doing?
Good, good, good. I'm in holiday mode now. I've got 2 weeks off work, so I am chilling.
Lovely. Well, ever been to Gorham? I have friends everywhere, and what a festive evening! These were the 3 episodes that we got this week from Andor. To do with what I initially believed was to be some sort of massive massacre in Gorham, which is a Star Wars sort of legend, so to speak, that has never really been truly displayed. But I thought this was it. But apparently, that massacre actually has already happened on Gorham under Grand Moff Tarkin like 15, 16 years ago from the current date of this episode of Andor. Or was it another massacre? I'm not so fucking sure.
Oh,
Regardless,
this
uh,
is it.
um,
Will there be two massacres?
well, what we ended up getting, though, in my personal opinion, was the Star Wars version of La Resistance, the French
Yep,
Resistance. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it had berets and everything.
fucking and the
And
language they were speaking
kilts.
initially, I thought they were speaking French, but the more I was listening to it, it just sounded like an amalgamation of maybe French and Italian, possibly, and
It was
maybe
probably, it
a
was
Baltic
probably like,
language.
I mean, it was probably like an alien language, but made to sound French. Or it could just be Esperanto they were talking. But the minute they started doing that, and with the underground stuff, I was like, oh yeah, this is just basically a World War II setting. Now we're in La Resistance for sure, and I loved
Yeah,
it. I thought it was funny. I just thought it was a nice little homage to them old World War II films and actual tales of them doing it as well. Because that's what La Resistance did. They used to raid and steal weapons and ammunition.
hello, Winnie. Thank you for dropping by. So, in the first episode of this free arc story, episode 4, we kind of got Bix and Andor kind of like staying undercover, living on Coruscant and keeping shit to themselves until Luthen kind of recruits them to like get their shit back together and start working. And they got this thing on Gorham that they need to do. And initially, like, Luther is the rebel alliance or the rebel force, so to speak. He's kind of the head of it until they find other factions, which we come across in episode 2. Sorry, I can't stop saying episode 2. In episode 5 and 6, which are this La Resistance, people with a similar cause, who and they get together. They're using this underground sort of communication network, which they use to communicate to each other, and they tried to get Cyril, obviously. And by the way, I'm just talking about all the episodes, just generally, amalgamating them in. But they tried to get Cyril initially to join in because they assume that Cyril can be turned. They know all of that, but they just don't know who Cyril truly is. But Cyril's playing them. He's like a quadruple agent, triple agent, so to speak, and he pretending to be on their side because they recruit him in the La Resistance to be in their fight for their cause. But the reality is he's going undercover for the Empire. So and just to talk about this particular scene with Cyril, because I want to just cover all the bases very quickly. What I didn't get was that he was undercover for the Empire, but he let La Resistance steal those boxes of weapons. He was obviously observing them and all of that, but it wasn't a
That was
trap
the
to stop
point.
La Resistance.
No, that's the point. You see, because in the end, what La Resistance does helps the Empire's cause. Like when protesters come out into the streets, and then the police go in and smash windows, and they're like, "Oh, look, they're all smashing windows, and this is why we have to crush them." So it's that kind of false flag operation, basically. That's what this is. So that they allow them in for a false sense of security to get to know. So Cyril's in there. He's basically a plant to kind of find out about the resistance in Gamora. Because then don't forget what they talked about in the first episode, which was about having insurgencies in there to destabilize it. So now that they know who the rebels are, they could then start getting funding insurgents to kind of destabilize the area and start, basically infighting, and then the Empire could just kind of justify their slaughter and all this kind of stuff. So it's all kind of building towards that, and it's also to see the wider scope is if it can lead them to finding out more cells of the rebellion. So it's yeah, it's brilliant. This was um personally, like, these three episodes were phenomenal. Last week I'm still pissed off as to how pointless they were, because when we get to this week, which is a year later, what happened previously meant nothing. The only thing that meant anything there was the initial launching of the operation in Gamora, or whatever the name of the planet is. I keep forgetting.
Gorum.
Yeah, that. And uh, is that, and of course, Bix's trauma,
Yep,
which
I'm
in
going to
its
get onto
place.
that.
Uh, but that was
Mm.
really good. I mean, and I've loved how they've kind of just handled that in general. Morning, Grant. Um, but
Morning, Lance.
yeah, this just had a fantastic spy thriller feel about it. Everything about it just was one big sexy homage to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s war films, and it was just brilliant. Everything was enthralling. Everything kept you gripped. I still am confused as to what the hell the previous three episodes were about. Honestly, they're so jarring, the contrast between the three. It felt like the previous three episodes just stank of like studio interference, or just some kind of padding to put more episodes in because of the popularity of this show. It just felt so jarring. And I kind of feel like this is the start of the show from episode 4 onwards.
Yeah, fair enough. I can understand. There was loads of detail in this. I have to be honest with you. I found it very difficult at times to understand what the fuck was going on because there was so much thrown at you at once from every direction. Whether it be with Stellan Skarsgård's character and him obviously mingling and all of that shit, and we
Oh,
still
that's
actually had a bit of
sorry.
Forrest. We still had Forrest Whitaker as well. By the way, he came in at the end of the end of the episode 4, shooting his own dude because apparently he was a fucking spy as well.
Yeah.
Like there's fucking spies there's spies everywhere. And the guy he's got with him, is that Bix's brother?
I think so. I think it. Yeah, I think it is her brother. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know
because
what they were
I
doing.
want,
That thing that they were that
yeah,
contraption.
that bomb. Yeah,
Is that what it is? It's just a bomb.
it feels like it was a bomb. I mean,
I don't know if it was
like
like the start of like an ion cannon or something. That's what it kind of felt
some
like
sort
to
of
me.
weapon, though. I mean,
But it's definitely
basically
some
some
kind of
sort of.
weapon. They didn't make it clear, but whatever it is, it's radioactive and all this kind of shit. And yeah, Forrest Whitaker, mate, shout out to him. Absolute batshit crazy. As he just reminds you of like these kind of like dictators that are just batshit crazy uh, in
Yeah,
real life. And yeah, shout out to that. I did like that because we got to see the rebellion. We got to see fucking loads of aliens, which kind of makes
a lot of
sense.
aliens. Yeah,
Yeah, it makes sense because it's like the contrast between like just humans being a cancer on Earth, and it's all the kind of creatures and different species and races that suffer under like tyranny of white man kind of thing. That's a contrast that I get from it.
did you pick up on Ruby Wax in this episode?
I did, yes. I was very happy to
Yes,
see. I was like, of all the people,
and she
like,
played
go
two
with it.
people in a. She played both those television presenters.
Yes.
Um, yeah, which is weird. Like, it was really weird seeing Star Wars TV, and daytime TV as well. Good morning, Coruscant.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Didn't
fucking
even know
Bix
they had night
wasted.
TV, but you think it'd be
Yeah,
like more holographic. But yeah, it was fun to see that kind of jarring of bullshit daytime TV and like Star Wars
what do you
universe.
think of their apartment? Do you like their apartment?
Well, I
Would you
mean,
like to?
they they feel
Would
like
you
a
like to live
prison,
there?
more like an apartment. Not Andor's one. But the one that oh
Varian Sky,
eh?
Varian when you were Varian Sky, when you went undercover on
Not the
Gorham.
hotel, not the hotel one, even though that was nice. But no, the Cyril's girlfriend's place.
Okay, yeah,
I like that place.
yeah. I've always would like these sort of like sci-fi apartments with their little buttons and switches and knobs and all that. Just curious. What happens if you press this? Does a table come
Yeah,
from the ground? You know what I mean? Or when you
6
press
days
that,
to
like in
press a
Back to the
button.
Future 2, like some fruit comes from the ceiling. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Stuff like that. So I'm always curious. But going back to Cyril, by the way, he's one of the funniest characters in the show. I'm not sure if ironically, unironically, it's very hard to say, but his relationship with Deirdre is fucking hilarious.
it
You know what I
is.
mean?
Yeah,
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 like I don't know if it's a relationship of convenience for Deirdre. Is she like stringing him along? Does she like him in some capacity? It's really hard to say. But when he goes to Deirdre's apartment and the way they embrace, which is just like a weird sort of kiss on the cheek, and even then, it's like air kissing the cheek, like they're
yeah.
touching cheeks, but he's not kissing the cheek. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And then they've only got an hour, So as far as he's concerned, let's get it on. But she's then telling you to switch the fucking lights off. I mean, it is so it's so hilarious. I don't know what you make of it.
So their relationship is obviously there's the power dynamic. She with Cyril, she just finds a cuck basically, and it probably she likes that. She probably again because she's surrounded by so many men at work and kind of feels sometimes like just that overwhelming powerlessness because of her work environment. She found herself a little cuck that she can peg probably
A
as
useful
well.
cuck.
Huh?
A useful cuck, not just
A
any old
useful
cuck.
cuck as
A
well,
cuck,
or
yeah.
she just found a sap that she can use just to further her own career, be it because through what they're doing now or whatever. So either way, it's not a marriage. Or, it's not a relationship of love. It's just a relationship of probably
Convenience.
exploitation on either side. It could be maybe Cyril just sees the opportunity of being in bed with her still keeps me in with the Empire rather than just being some office jockey after losing his job and everything fell apart. So there's that weird dynamic there that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Cyril is brilliant. The fact that he is just this double agent now, and I just love it. Like just enthralling characters. So yeah, his arc through these 3 episodes was brilliant, culminating in exactly what needed to be. Sorry, not Bixby. Bix's arc had a wonderful payoff. Though
Yeah.
how that guy just happened to be on Coruscant is another question. Could have been literally anywhere, but maybe it's because he's part of the ISB, so there is that. But they find him and they torture him, then they blow up the whole fucking building at the end, and I thought that was really good. My brief thoughts on this arc of episodes, it was really good. But why is there no substantial moment to form the Rebel Alliance? Um, well,
Maybe in a
if
year.
history has taught us anything, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in spate and then culminates into one big cluster attack, which probably was what happened in episode 4, if I'm guessing. However, before we move on, I will say this: we've now got is it 6 episodes left? In those
Hmm.
6 episodes, they need to ramp everything up now. The action needs to ramp up. The tension needs to ramp up. No more of this too much slow paced character thing. After this, whatever happens in Gorham, there needs to be the massacre now. And that needs to rally people. And then we just need to start seeing things. We can't end this show with no big battle, no big kind of statement to say the rebellion is here because they're established now. In Rogue One, they're established. So I'll take back what I said earlier because I just remembered. Yeah, they're established by Rogue One, and
We've got
so
2 more years.
we've got 2 more years now. Yeah, after this.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting but they need to ramp. Well, if that's the case as well. We've got 2 more years, which means the whole everything that's just happened on Gorham, we're not going to see the aftermath. We're just going to hear about it,
which is a shame, really, because
which is a shame.
I
So
mean, there's
maybe
still a
what
reason.
happened there should have happened at episode 2, and then episode 3 should have been the repercussions rather than doing it off screen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what needs to happen pretty much is nearly everyone in this show needs to be killed off except for Krennic and fucking Andor. So Bix needs to die.
Fix needs
Skarsgård's
to die.
character needs to die.
Yeah,
His helpers need to die. You know, the girl who looks like Leia, she needs to die. One of what's her face, the Indian girl, she died, but her girlfriend needs to die.
yeah, she
You
died.
know,
Yeah,
Bix's brother needs to die. Like there's so many people that need to be killed off, and at the same time, Andor needs to hook up with his fucking with the robot dude. You know, the droid. I mean, I don't really want that to be a last minute thing because
yeah.
they
Don't
did
put it
have
in
a
the
bond.
three arcs. It doesn't.
Yeah, they did have a bond. Andor and that droid. So I want to see that bond. You know, I want to see it develop. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, this all of that needs to come into play. Hold on, I need to remind myself of one particular character. He's from Game of Thrones as well. Andor cast.
That's fine.
He he's part
I'm talking about
he's part of the.
Kirik or Craig. What's fucking Larson's name? What's his bloody name? I'm so bad with the names.
Oh, Major is it Major Partagas? Is that how you say it? He was Deirdre's superior.
Yeah, you're right, Vance. Yeah, Mon needs to resign as a senator, and the alliance. Then, yeah, she's the one that puts the pieces together. You're right.
Yeah, Anton Lesser, who he's 73 years old. He looks good for his age. Yeah, he plays Major Part A Gaz, and I'm loving his performance. By the way, he's got a very Tarkin vibe about him. Um, when
Is that the guy with
he's
the long hair? Yeah.
communicating, yeah. Deirdre's superior. You
Oh
know,
right. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
brought
Oh
to the
yeah. He's
Empire,
brilliant. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Very
he got
talking.
yeah, he's got a couple of guys working for him. One of them obviously is liaising with oh God, why is Anton Scott? Why is Anton? Why is Luther real? Yeah, he's
Oh, Luther. Yeah.
liaising. He's liaising with him, but he gave those guys a job to do, which is a very menial task. And one of them said to him, "Yeah, it'll be an honor, sir, to do it." And he goes, "Would it? Is it like that?" He looked at him like, "Really?
Yeah.
This menial fucking task is a fucking honor? Your
Yeah. That was a
aspirations are
great
not
bit.
so high." Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. You know, like the way he looks at him, brilliant. He's a fascinating character. Whether he lives or dies, I don't know. Will Cyril live to die? Deirdre lives to die? You know, it's really hard to say. You know, because none of these characters, apart from Andor and fucking Ben Mendelsohn's character, they're the only two. And of course, Forrest Whitaker's
Yeah.
character.
Forrest Whitaker
They're,
character.
they're, yeah, Saul Guerrero. They're the
Yeah.
only ones who make it. You know, so does everyone else die?
Yeah. Mon Mothma
Yeah.
makes it obviously as
Mon
well.
Mothma, Mon Mothma makes it as well. Yeah, Mon Mothma makes it as
Yeah.
well.
But
So
everyone else needs to die. Like Lutheran needs to die. He needs to die for sure.
heroic death,
Eh?
a heroic
No,
death.
just murdered in the middle of Coruscant by the Imperials. Or it goes down in a fight. Sure, why not?
It was
But
this was great on its own, but how it fits in the overall timeline, we're running out of time for two BBY next week and one BBY. Rebellion is far too organized to just come together in 2 years. I was thinking that. I was thinking that too. Like, yeah, I can't but wonder who's telling the story. The time is given in BBY, so it's not someone from the Empire or the First Order. And one needs to resign the Senate. Oh, sorry, you already mentioned that.
I've
Yeah.
already done that.
Um. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. Any of the story arcs in the show that you like? I mean, for instance, I found it a bit weird, you know, that when La Resistance was stealing the guns and what that one dude he ended up brawling with the other dude. and then the gun went off, and he just happened to kill somebody, killed the Indian girl.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of rolled my eyes up at that because I've seen that
I
trope
didn't like
before.
that. I didn't
It's
like
quite
that.
it's quite
But
tropey.
yeah, and given again, you're going to skip ahead a year. What's it all going to be for? But here's an interesting thing. So remember, you had the clash between Lutheran and Andor regarding Gorham, about him saying, "Look, they're just not ready. They're not good enough to be part of the rebellion. They're just basically they're amateurs, and their plan is stupid. They're just going to get slaughtered." But Lutheran still sends people out there to kind of help them do the heist. Now we're going to fast forward a year. Are we at that point where people have been massacred there, or are we going to be after a year of fuckery? We're going to see a massacre, and in that case, this is going to be the clash between Andor and Lutheran's approach. Maybe to
Maybe
say,
Andor
look,
killed Luthen. You know, maybe
maybe it's Andor that kills Lutheran because at the end of the day, Lutheran just cares about the rebellion. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't care about people dying, whereas
he,
Andor does,
he,
and he knows that it doesn't want that to happen to those people. So if
we
it's
got
already happened, will there clash over that?
we got Yavin 4 still needs to be built as a base. You
Yeah,
know, and all of that. I did. There was a really cool scene with when Andor was going as that Sky dude, Yaren Sky or whatever the fuck his name was, and he starts talking to La Resistance, and they said that yeah, we got a man in the inside, ex Imperial and stuff like that, and Andor was saying, look, these guys are very clever. You know, you shouldn't trust them. You know, you think they're working for you, but you don't realize you could be working for them, and
and that's exactly what
that
was
definitely
happening.
was the case as well.
Yeah,
Because you need to get is why Lutheran is so much better because he doesn't he's not looking for somebody to be sympathetic for the cause. The guy with the mustache who is working for him, he's got him by the short and curly. He's got him by the balls. You know, he's making him work for him, but if he doesn't, he'll fucking expose him and he'll fuck him up. He could die, end his career, whatever. So he's got an empire guy working for him, you know, and under duress, so to speak. You know,
yeah,
not for sympathy. Whilst these La Resistance are trying to go for the sympathy side of things with Cyril, and they don't realize that they're getting played. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and it's kind of a shame. I really hope they still explore it, and it's not just now finished after 1 year, because that's where all the interesting stuff was there, and the consequences, Cyril, all this kind of stuff. But with that being said, um, now, do you feel we need to see anyone from like the main kind of Star Wars characters?
Well, before I'm going to get to that, I want to see Tarkin roll over because he mentioned Tarkin in over Gamora with a superstar destroyer. That's that they'll know what it means, and so will we. I mean, there's an example there. If we do get somebody, Tarkin would be a good one in some capacity. I would like to see the Emperor maybe if they're going into the Senate all the time. You know,
Yeah,
uh, I don't need to see Vader. Emperor or Tarkin would have been a good one.
yeah. Another
I
Knight
don't
of a
know.
Thousand Tears. Well, I
What, the-
mean, they're
what,
gonna fuck that planet up
what,
because they're gonna mine it into oblivion anyway.
sorry, I'm glad you mentioned this because for me, we've got the most pointless recast of all time by Benjamin Bratt. You know, we did not need to see Bail Organa in this episode, but you know, like what was the recast? We had it there for
Well,
that moment when
we've still got another 6 episodes, so I'm pretty sure he'll come there. He did not. I agree with you that it did not be like he was in this episode for like 5 seconds, but if he doesn't show up in the next 6 episodes, yeah, what is the fucking point? It's just weird.
yeah, I mean, you could have had fucking Jar Jar Binks there, you know, and that would have been much better to tell you the truth, you know.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
he's still hiding as a Sith Lord, and not even Emperor
yeah,
Palpatine knows about it.
exactly, you know. So yeah, there's all of that. Yeah, really good episode. I
Yes, the
love Dick's
episode
redemption, by
is
the way.
superb. Sorry, I'm just reading about this comment. Sorry, Zam.
no. The Bix's redemption at the end was really good, and I like the way Andor, even though he's very very protective over Bix, and who wouldn't be? I mean, she's fucking gorgeous, But he and by the way, she'd be a good Wonder Woman, that actress.
Oh, she'd be
Um,
brilliant as Wonder Woman. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Regardless, he let her do the deed of killing the guy who wronged her. And yeah, and they blew the fucking place up and walked off because cool guys never look at explosions when they walk away. You know what I
absolutely
mean?
not. Absolutely not. They
So
just walk away. We've
yeah,
had our Michael Bay moment there, and it was not Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer moment. Not Michael Bay wasn't the one that made those famous. It was the Bruckheimers.
and also, and as I can, I'm remembering things I thought was significant when fake Leia was working on that table, which is a book, and she's got the Imperial guy who compromised to cover for her. She was obviously trying to remove um, a uh, a
The
listening
listening device.
device.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it looked like she got rid of it, but then she was turning this fucking thing, and it got stuck. And I was like, "What the fuck's going on? Was she still trying to remove it, or what?
yeah,
What the
yeah.
fuck was she
She
doing?"
removed a cap and then removed. Oh, it could be two listening devices. It could be a microphone and an aerial in there that she was removing. But yeah, unnecessary tension, but it was still very good. And that scene with Mon Mothma and Garrett was brilliant. Like just the back and
Krennic.
Krennic, sorry, the back. I'm so bad with the names. I'm so sorry, guys. But the back and forth with the yeah, their dialogue was great. The fucking script, it was so brilliantly written as well, especially between Bix and Andor. Their kind of conversation was fantastic. I honestly, I'm still. There needs to be an investigation as to what the hell were those first three episodes about because they're just so jarring. Like I warned my
Also,
brother, and
I don't know
he said
if
my
because
brother pointed out the exact same shit that I did last week in text messages. I'm like, yeah, we're not the only ones that thought that. What
I
do you
just
think?
wanted to quickly. I'm not sure if Cheeto. I know Daniel Vance is in Star Trek, but Cheeto, if you're listening, did you at the beginning of episode 4 when Andor and Bix are like having a tender moment with each other? They start touching their hands and shit like that. It looked like the fucking Pon farr from Star Trek. What they were fucking doing. I'm not sure if you guys know what I mean, but yeah. Was
Yeah,
it Wampa? A member of Saul Guerrero's group. I
I
never
know what it
thought.
means. The big
I don't.
Yeti character. It's a Wampa. It is a Wampa. Yeah, it's Wampa. It's a Wampa. I just double checked. But yeah, it was great to see the Wampa, the big white bastard thing. Uh,
The fucking Yeti.
the Yeti. It's interesting, yeah, because they're just like bears, really. They're just fucking just carnivore, like hunter type things. But to see one that was like smart, uh, was cool. I liked seeing it. Yeah, I just liked seeing lots of aliens. We're seeing more aliens this uh in this run of Andor, which is
Mm,
good to see.
quite a lot.
Quite a lot.
Quite a lot of aliens. When Andor went into the shop and that Asian woman there, and she wanted to see her man. What was all that about?
What? Andor?
Remember? Yeah, and Andor. He goes into this convenience store, and there's a
Oh right,
woman
yeah.
there, and then a man comes out, the big alien dude.
That was to get the it was to get a device, I think, to kind of listen in about what's going on Gorham or some shit like that, or get a bunch of items that he needs for the character he's going to play or some shit. I didn't pay
Yeah,
attention. I think I was
and
texting.
and I'm jumping all over the place.
That's
Obviously, Cyril used the moment where the Empire raided his office and started searching for listening devices, but he purposely fought against them because he wanted the resistance who are listening in to feel like, okay, yeah, he's going to be sympathetic to our cause because he's fighting. He's not coercing with the empire. He's going against them, and he's
yeah,
also now being taken in and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, he's going to be on our side, and that
yeah.
was all just a play, so to speak, by Cyril, which was a kind of genius on his part
It was
to a
great.
degree.
And when they're just
So
you know, I love the bit where they're in that room after that briefing. He's like, "Is it wrong for me to say this is the greatest day of my life?" I fucking laughed my head off when he did that. I was like, just no emotion. It's just like this is the best day ever. So I was like, you can tell he just loves doing all this kind of shit.
he's a glorified pick me, dude. He's so desperate to. Yeah, he'll get wronged by the Empire a million times, but if he could just be on their side of things, he'll happily take it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and by the way, as somebody who loved retrofuturism as much as you do, you must have been loving the looks on this episode. Like there was like all the devices they were using and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. In his office, in the La Resistance stuff, the kind of even some of the vehicles that were flying around in Coruscant, the kind of 50s style vehicles. But yeah, the old TV kind of looks and all that. I loved it. Loved it. It was very. There was a lot of kind of. It was like a nice homage to kind of 60s and 50s retro futurism. It was nice and didn't feel too out of place either. Like normally you think, oh, this is a bit, but no, it still kind of felt in keeping with the Star Wars aesthetic. With
Yeah, definitely for
kind
the for for the Empire period because to a degree George Lucas when he did the prequels he really tried to modernize the technology, but at the same time once he started bringing it into the Empire period he had to retrofy it in order for it to look like Star Wars
yeah,
and stuff like
well, the thing
that.
is,
So yeah.
it, it's fine. Like we don't have to go by our let's say our universes look into technology. Like that universe could be a completely analog universe, completely different. It doesn't have to be like us in terms of the technology. Just because oh, it's Star Wars, it's in space and all this kind of stuff, doesn't
Well,
mean
it's
that
set
the
in the
tech
past
has
as
to be
well.
like touch screens and nothing and just hollow everything like MCU kind of stupid tech, which is ridiculous and it bugs me. Whereas I like the kind of old school analog feel of it, big buttons and big computers and all of that.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't need to. But with Star Trek, it's different. Like Star Trek, when you reboot it with the same characters, for example, you need to bring the technology up with it. It needs to be like a completely different feel and aesthetic. Whereas with Star Wars, we're still in that universe. We haven't left it. We're not rebooting it, so it needs to stay the same. If you reboot it, fine. You can kind of change a bunch of things.
There's no chance of them rebooting it. Not with the amount of lore that has been created over the
You don't
years.
need to reboot Star Wars. You just need to go
Nine movies and
into the
yeah,
past.
9 movies, animation shows, television shows, books, and all of that. It's very very difficult. Um, it would almost be like Disney admitting they failed if they reboot it. And
Well,
even if they
Disney
did reboot it, it
failed.
would.
I'm sorry. George Lucas failed before Disney got there. Disney just killed it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
A lot of people always forget like how hated the prequels were, and the Clone Wars cartoon was just like meh. Uh, all this kind of stuff. So there was plenty of hatred for Star Wars before Disney bought it. Then Disney bought it, and everyone was like, "Oh fuck," and they just killed it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, yeah, I agree. Like, the Revenge of the Sith is on its 20th anniversary now, so
Yeah.
a lot of people are looking, but it's still a lot of the same stuff. Just that they kind of got used to Revenge of the Sith by the time they kind of got used to this way of doing Star Wars by the time Revenge of the Sith came out because
Just
they got an idea.
Well,
It was better. It is
shallow.
the best it is the best, but
Yeah, it's the best of the three, but that's like
yeah,
saying, that there was a golden nugget in a fucking turd, and the nugget was actually marble rather than gold. It was still a shit
and
film.
on top of that, what the prequels and this is a weird defense of the prequels, but what the prequel did bring was a major expansion to to Star Wars, like in a way that the original trilogy couldn't do. Unfortunately, the original trilogy is really great, but what Star Wars was, this universe that it was, it really became more fleshed out because of the prequels, in my
Well, they had
opinion.
the technology, that's why, to do it.
Yeah, in the sense of the law and all of that. Okay, now we know more. Like like these things, that they make more sense now in this world and all of that. Yeah, yeah, they obviously had the technology and stuff like that. But for instance, like the sequel trilogy, they haven't fleshed out shit. You know what I mean? They haven't fleshed out anything.
No, they just rushed everything.
It,
They just rushed.
yeah.
It was just as hollow as everything else Disney kind of does. And but the thing you need to understand with George Lucas is, if we go by the not Rick Cullum, not that stupid soy boy, the previous producer that helped him with the original trilogy. If you go by him, since after Empire Strikes Back, like Return of the Jedi, and then the prequels, every scene was about how much merchandise can we get out of this particular scene. Everything was about toys and merchandise, and that's why the stories are so fucking bland and shallow and just badly written. Because it just wasn't. It was just like, all right, this is the idea. We do this, big explosions, everyone's distracted, blah blah blah. Toys, 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 toys. And you can see it in the fandom because I'm a toy collector as well. Everyone was like, I want this toy and I want this figure from this scene. I'm like, are you fucking idiots? Like, oh, that's why the films are shit. Because he just knows that you lot just want the toys from every scene. So, yeah, but seeing Tony Gilroy and what he's doing, it's just such a breath of fresh air. Like, just having something adult for a change. So, it's
I was
just,
gonna say that. I mean, if
great.
they do Old Republic stuff, I want him at the helm. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Without a doubt, I want him at the helm because as I said before, I've always wanted that Games of Thrones in space, and I want it to be Old Republic. And what Tony Gilroy is doing with this show is that we are following several different factions, whether it be Andor, Luthen, La Resistance, and one particular place, Mon Mothma, and all of that, as well as the Empire as well. We are following all these different factions, and it makes very interesting viewing. And some of the side characters as well get fleshed out quite well. In this show, which is also fun to watch. The
yeah.
show might be it's called Andor, but there's so many people with little story arcs and stuff like that.
They
So
should have called it Le Rebellion after this.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, exactly. So I want to see Tony Gilroy do that Games of Thrones in space with in the Old Republic era
As a
with an
series.
abundance
I
of
don't want it
Sith.
as films. I want it as a
Of
series.
course, okay.
Yeah.
I want it as a series, and because there's thousands of years of Old Republic that they can work on. The Sith were a massive faction before the Rule of Two. So was the fucking Jedi. There's Sith planets with Sith academies and stuff like that. I want it all. You know what I mean? I want to see the fight
Yeah.
between the two.
It's
I don't want to.
frustrating that they haven't
Yeah,
done it.
I and don't do stuff like Darth Revan and all of these characters that we've already seen in those amazing Old Republic cutscenes. I want a period of time which is just unearthed, like just
Just before them.
eh,
Or
before
just
them, yeah.
adjacent to them, whatever. Yeah.
No Darth Bane or anything like that. Way before all of that, just a nice,
Yeah.
good, 100 years of just whatever. You know what I mean? Just loads of
Fresh
fucking back and
characters,
forth and
unknown characters, no fucking
yeah.
Yoda, no
Before Yoda,
characters we
yeah.
know of. None of that. So yeah, anyway, she'll go ahead and mark this.
The Tales of the Underworld starts. So yeah. Well, that's just no different to the other four cartoon thingies. So if it's good, I'll watch it though, regardless. Yeah, I'm gonna mark it. I'm giving the entire set an 8 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for the entire set. Really loved it.
Yeah. My only issue, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But at times, I'll be maybe I thought some of the stuff did not make sense to me. I like it was a bit the jargon, and I couldn't understand what the fuck was going on. But I was um I was heavily invested at the same time, which is why I guess an 8 and not a 7.
Well,
Hello, Ricky B. Good evening. It's so hot, and so are you two. I won't any Andor, but I will. You should watch Mobland. I do watch Mobland. I review it on this channel. Unfortunately, I haven't reviewed the latest episode, but I will get onto that. I'm just being a bit lazy, but I will get onto that. I promise.
I
Just a
tried,
bit
but
burnt
too
out at the moment.
directly for me. Not a fan. I give it 8 out of 10, and I haven't seen it. That's a fair score.
I'm not sure if you like it, Rick B. There's definitely minorities, women, and lesbian kiss.
Too many
You
aliens in
know
it
what I
as
mean?
well. So you might not like
Not
it.
enough. Not and a lot of the white people are baddies.
Yeah,
Just so you
so
know.
you
Yeah.
might get
So
triggered. But
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly. Yeah,
that is everything.
yeah,
I
we're
think
done
we've
here.
covered everything. Join us tomorrow. We're doing 100 days of Trump in the world's gone insane. Just thought I'd get that little plug in. It'll be later than usual because I want more Americans in. Because I promised when the election happened, I said that we'll come back after his first 100 days and see how he's doing. And anyway, Sam, back to you.
Yeah, I tried to get my Trumpian loving cousin to be involved, but he's backed out, like a beta, because he kind of knows that you can't really argue for Trump and after these first. I mean, he might still do, and he's a Canadian, by the way. One the only Canadian you'll find who was pissed off that fucking Mark Carney won the election.
Of course.
I might add as well.
Yeah, we'll talk
Yeah,
about
but there
that
you go.
tomorrow as well. So yeah, join us.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right. That's wonderful. I'm going to now play some fucking um what do you call it?
That's Creed.
As Creed, but and by the way, I will start streaming Assassin's Creed Live again. I did the first section, but I want to just get some serious HP XP under my belt, so that way I've got my Neo and Yasuke are like fully back on badass mode, so I can play without having to feel like I need to constantly level up my fucking player for the sake of it. So yeah, all right, great.
All right.
Thank you very much everyone for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the great social media channel